It is challenging at the moment. We're all facing the challenge of the coronavirus, and we have to. I think the key thing is to try and maintain the sport in the safest possible way. We can't take unnecessary risks, but we can't just shut down completely. If the whole economy shut down completely, that would have a much more serious impact than the coronavirus. But the coronavirus is a very serious threat, so we have to take the necessary reactions. So every country, we're working with the local health authorities to decide what is the appropriate actions to take. All the teams, for instance, are minimizing the amount of staff that travel. So we're taking every sensible precaution we can, and we have to follow the advice of the health authority. I think it's pretty much status quo, if I'm honest, and there's no reason to expect any real change in the pecking order of Formula One unless somebody makes a horrible mistake. And really that's why we're making these changes for next year. We want to change the landscape of Formula One and bring the teams closer together. We still want a meritocracy, we still want the best teams to win, but we want to have much closer competition. And by controlling the amount of money the teams can spend, and also distributing the prize fund more evenly, more fairly amongst the teams, and also changing the technical regulations, sporting regulations. We think we can maintain the integrity of the sport, the challenge of the sport, the meritocracy of the sport, but we can have much closer competition. So I'm not sure this year we can look to see anything different than has happened in the last few years. It's been great seasons, great racing, but it's been a small group. We want to widen that group, we want to expand it. And I think there'll be one or two interesting changes in midfield. Racing Point look very strong. McLaren are on an upward trend. I think that will continue. But I think in terms of the top big three teams, not much is going to change there. But hopefully next year we can start to see the landscape change. They have a very stable organisation. They have some great people there, and they've got the momentum going. So when you're successful, you start the season, your car's good, everything is under control, and you start the next season. And so whilst you're racing one year, you're already working on the next year. A lot of the teams are trying to catch up. They don't have that capacity to work ahead. And now Mercedes have got ahead. Very difficult to stop them. But they're very well structured, very well organised, probably the biggest budget in Formula One. You put all those things together and it's a steamroller. And whilst we don't want to penalise Mercedes, in the future we want to make success more accessible for more teams. It's a new initiative for Formula One, and it's a new initiative for a sport as complex as ours. Obviously budget caps and cost controls exist in a lot of other sports. But I think it is an essential element, because in Formula One, if you do a competent job, you go as fast as your budget. So the more budget you can have, the faster you'll go. And Formula One is a victim of its own success in a way, because it's such a popular sport. The branding that a company like Mercedes gets from success in Formula One is so valuable, they can justify the investments they make. But we also have a group of teams who, like McLaren, like Racing Point, they're not necessarily associated with a huge manufacturer. They can't justify those budgets. So by introducing a cost control, a budget cap, then we can put a lid on the amount that a team can spend. Now, where this is differed from other initiatives there's been in Formula One is this is supervised and policed by the FIA. So it's part of the sporting regulations now. It's not a separate side agreement between the teams, it's part of the sporting regulations. So if you breach those regulations, you'll be penalised. And if you've made a serious fraudulent breach of the financial regulations, you could even have a championship taken away from you. So it has teeth. And this year is the dry run. There's no penalties this year, but all the teams are engaging with the FIA to sort out their systems, to report their numbers, to check their auditing, and then next year it goes live. I think the cars will be pretty special. The cars we race now, amazing performance, but they're very hostile in traffic. So when one car's following another, the car behind really struggles. And it's only getting worse every year because of the design of the cars and the detail of the cars. That impact the car that's ahead has on the one behind is getting more and more severe. And with next year's car, we've improved that enormously, and we have a team of people who are monitoring it. So as soon as we see the design start to evolve this year and next year, we can change the regulations to suit. And we have an objective of making sure these cars can race each other. I think they'll look great, but I also think they'll be able to race great as well. And that's one of the things I'm most excited about. I think it was really great to show the fans the other side of Formula One, because most of the fans have only seen what goes on the track or the interviews at the track. And suddenly see behind the scenes, both at the racetracks and at the factories, the bases the teams operate from. I think gave people a fascinating insight. And what we've discovered is it's been very appealing to the non-race fan. In fact, turned them into race fans. And some of the promoters in the past season have said they've definitely measured the increase in interest in Formula One that's come from the Netflix series. And whilst Netflix in itself wasn't a hugely profitable venture, in terms of giving greater coverage for Formula One, it's been fantastic. And that's the type of initiative that we're doing. We're looking at taking a holistic view of how we can live Formula One.